Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am here on this Thursday, November the 21st, 2017, with my next update video. Full disclosure, in order to make this one a little bit longer to keep Amy happy, I have decided to tack on some 2018 plans talk rather than separate it into two videos. Because otherwise I don't have oodles to talk about. I have a couple of finishes, which you may know about. I have one project I've worked on and a new start. I have some very sort of fluid ideas about what my immediate plans are. And then I have something that I received in the mail this week. I want to talk to you about my bullet journal. And that will kind of segue us into the plans for 2018 because that's where we are. As far as I can remember, I don't have any purchases and no questions. So pretty quick unless we add in some other stuff. And there's some other stuff I want to talk about. So we will do so. Before I delve too deep into all of these things that I have piled up around me, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about, and the first of which is right there. So I've decided that while I'm filming in here and until I get some framed things up on my walls, I'm going to feature a finished stitch, and so what you see there is the Ho 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 series, and that is by Stony Creek. I just thought it timing appropriate since it's Christmas season, holiday season. And it was a freebie series in 2015. All you had to do was pay for shipping and you got each of the charts if you ordered them within their respective months, kind of a thing. I started it in 2015 and finished it in July of this year. And it's really cute. So I just thought that I would include that, and I'll talk about it, talk about whichever projects I have featured. I've got them planned out a little bit for the next few weeks, so stay tuned. Okay, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about before I start into things is that today is the 21st of December, like I said, and today is Gotcha Day for Thor. Now, gotchas are normally reserved for adopting, when you adopt a dog, but it's fine. Thor came home 5 years ago today, which I think is just spectacular. I am hoping that he's going to make an appearance today, especially, but I can't promise anything. It's a gorgeous sunny day here. We're in the mid-50s, and when the sunlight is coming into my bedroom, that is Thor's favorite spot to take a nap. And so I can't promise that he's going to make an appearance because just as I was coming in here to start filming, he got really comfortable. So we'll see what happens. If he doesn't come in, then I will put up a photo montage or something at the end because, yeah, baby Thor came home today, 5 years ago. I didn't film yesterday, obviously. I was out doing last-minute Christmas shopping. Be jealous. 5 days before Christmas, doing some last-minute shopping. That was not fun. But it had to be done, so filming yesterday was just not going to happen. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is something new to Jessie Marie Does Stuff, and that is a blog. So I can talk about it more in another setting, but just real briefly here, I started up a blog because I am participating in next year's Whipocalypse, and I wanted to have a dedicated blog space for that because it's generally a blogger's event. I know that blogging is a bit of a dying art in social media, especially for stitchers, so it was kind of weird to start one at the tail end of of that, but I wanted to. And I know several FlossTubers that maintain blogs, and I just wanted another opportunity to share my stuff. So the blog is pretty self-explanatory. It's jessiemariedosstuff.wordpress.com, and I'll link that in the description box so that if you want to check it out, you're more than welcome. I'm going to use that as basically just an online location to share projects. If I show a project today and you're like, in 6 months' time, you wish that you had taken down some details for that, and you don't really want to go through all of my videos to try to find it again, etc. It will be on the blog. That information will be on the blog. So that's that. Moving forward, and I really like it. So, yay. So that, I believe, is all of the things before I start talking about all of the things. So let's go ahead and jump right in. And we are going to start with finishes. So last time I spoke to you, was it last week? No, I don't believe so. I believe it was last week. And now I'm all discombobulated. Anyway, okay, so it was last week. I talked to you guys about the fact that I needed to get 3 finishes in order to finish the year with 69 whips. And so up first was the Love Ornament by Mill Hill. And I'm not going to insert a preview of what this looked like last time, because it's just an ornament, but it was a really quick finish. So there it is, all done. And the hanger, it was only supposed to be the dark maroony beads, but I didn't have enough, or maybe I had enough, but I had poured out enough of the other beads to be able to just alternate them and make a long enough hanger. So there is that, and I cut it out and attached the little key charm down there, and I really like it. I like how it turned out. I haven't backed it yet, so I will do that. It's already hanging on our tree because it's adorable, because Drew yelled at me and said, "Put that on your tree." He didn't really yell at me. Just exclamation points. Anyway, so I will back this with some felt and get it up on the tree. So there's that. Next, I decided to go with the Dreamcatcher by Tiny Modernist, and I will insert a preview of what this looked like the last you saw it, as well as what it would look like finished had I done it charted. And so I worked on this on, let's see, I finished the love ornament Friday morning, and Friday, Danny had to do a work thing. I feel really bad for him. He had to go to a funeral or a wake. One of the guys that founded the company that Danny now works for passed away kind of unexpectedly, and so Danny had to go to the wake, and so he didn't get home until like 11 o'clock Friday night. So, and it was like a work only thing, so it was only the people that worked for the company. It wasn't any spouses or anything. So I got a ton of stitching done that day. I just kind of decided to take the day as a me day. If he's going to be gone practically all day and all night, then I'm just going to stitch. And so that's what I did. I didn't quite finish it Friday, but I finished it pretty early on Saturday. I was going to try to stay up late Friday night to finish it, but I'm really glad that I didn't, and I'll explain that here in a second. So here it is, all finished, and let me do the fancy FlossTuber thing and lean it up against some foam core. So yeah, so there it is, all done, and I really, really love it. So the fabric is a 32 count Belfast in Winterbrook by Under the Sea Fabrics. It's doing really weird things to my lighting, but that's okay. I look almost angelic. There's this golden glow going on. Anyway, let's see. Belfast, Winterbrook, Under the Sea Fabrics. I stitched it using all of the called for DMC colors. The only thing the couple of things that I changed is there were charted with 2x2 stitched beads, and I instead replaced them with some size 6 Mill Hill beads. And the item number there is 16609, I believe. And it also called for the backstitch to be done using a single strand, and so I did 2 strands so that it would stand out against those gigantic beads. And then up here in the actual dream catcher at the center, I attached a crystal because I thought that just a little extra something sparkly there at the center would be nice. And that center, all of that backstitch and whatnot for the woven portion of the dream catcher, yeah, that took a lot. It was not as straightforward as maybe I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. I managed to get it done. There are some minor, what's the right word here? Adjustments that I made. So yeah, finished that up on Saturday, and I think that this was a total of 4 stitching days, so not bad. The love ornament was a Mania 17 start. This was a Mania 16 start. And why I didn't just, bust through this, I'll never understand. But it's done. And my plans for FFOing this, I've been asked a couple times. I'm going to do Danielle's canvas style finishing for this because it's so beaded and they're gigantic beads and crystals. And it's little, so I think it would look really nice on one of those canvas with I'll either do fabric or felt or scrapbook paper or something. I'll have a look. So there's that. So pretty. I love this one down here. That feather. I don't care too much for these two together because blue and orange, that would be my college rivals colors. One of them anyway. And my signature, I treated it like an extra bead, just sort of hanging down from this one. So it's in that bottom right corner, but it's not floating out in space. So there's that, sort of hiding in plain sight. Okay. Next, so this was crazy. Okay, so I finished that up Saturday morning. Then it was time to get started on the third and final one that I needed to get done in order to finish the year with 69 whips. I'll just set this here. And like I had talked about, this was going to be a restart. So this is Taurus by Satsuma Street. Artist is Jody Rice for Satsuma Street. And I had started this for Mania 17. I started at the top of this piece of fabric that I had because I was going to try to fit 2 of them on one piece of fabric, or even 3 if I could manage it. But I ended up hating just stitching like that because I would have to reach really far forward. It was really uncomfortable stitching. So rather than handle with that much longer, I decided to start it over. And so I started over on Saturday. And Saturday was kind of a meh stitching day. Virginia Tech played and lost to Kentucky in men's basketball, so I was paying attention to that. Sunday was a better stitching day, but it still wasn't lots, and I don't even remember why. And then Monday. Monday, I went bananas. So, preview here of what this was. Well, no, actually, I have it. I have it here. Okay, so this is what it was supposed to look like. Finished, and hers was done on black Ada. So there is that. And mine is done on 32 count Belfast linen by Zweigart in Silver Moon. And you can see up here were the original stitches. But there it is, all done. I went gangbusters, and I got it done. I finished it on Monday, actually. I didn't think I was going to, because I basically only had most of his head done, not quite all of it, and then these fiddly flowers. So I had quite a lot left to do on Monday, but I just knocked it out. It was just zoom, zoom, zoom. I got it done. He's so cute and little. He would look really good framed in a hoop because it's just such a rounded design. Even the bottom is rounded, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to frame him in a hoop. And yeah, love it. So changes made, very, very minimal. The only change that I made is that there are 2 flowers down here in the grass region that we're supposed to use 3706. And that was the only place that 3706 was called for. 8 total stitches. By the expression on my face, you can tell how I felt about that. So I just decided to use the same color as this one here, 3771. And if the cross-stitch police are coming for me, then guilty as charged. It's fine. I ain't bothered. And I was not going to be bothered to pull out for all of that. So another cute finish. So this here was, this was officially 3 total stitching days, but I'm calling it 4 just because I started it and then restarted it. And so I'm counting that original start date. Mania 17 start, my 25th finish for 2017. 25! Isn't that crazy? That's pretty crazy. And I think it's super cute. Super cute. But they're all done. All 3 of them. I set that goal and I went for it and I got them done. And I'm feeling really, really good about that. Managed to reach 69. I really, really badly wanted to title this episode 69, but I thought that some unwanted attention would be brought to the video, and so I decided, bad idea. So anyway, down to 69. Woo, finished that up Monday evening, getting my timeline back together. Tuesday morning, it was finally time. So we're going to transition here into works in progress. Tuesday morning, I was so ready to finally get back to this. So ready. It did not get enough attention, as far as I'm concerned, on the days when I started it, and it needed some more love. So that is, of course, Lady of the Flag. And this is just my printout version, but I've got American flag woodcut and fox, Christmas fox. So the hashtag that Bendy Stitchy Michelle and I are using is Lady of Gratitude Sal, because we are both incredibly grateful to our generous benefactors. I don't think that's the right word, but the wonderful women that lent us the charts so that we could stitch these triplets. So the official hashtag that she and I are both using so that you can follow us on Instagram to see our progress throughout the next year or so, depending on how long it takes. That's the one to look at. Now I'm tagging mine also, She's a Foxy Lady, because, well, we all know why. So there's that. And you'll be seeing a preview here of what this looked like the last you saw it. And I was able to put in very little on Tuesday and then a whole lot yesterday. Tuesday I had another migraine, and so yeah, stitching was kind of blah. But that's okay. I made up for it yesterday. My fabric is a 32 count Belfast in Vintage Blue Whisper by Zweigart. It's a printed fabric in their vintage line. And I'm going to fold this in half because the fabric is kind of see-through. It's hard to stitch on this fabric in particular when it's really sunny because it's so see-through, and so I have to time it appropriately to be able to stitch. So, I'm not going to fold that. So there we have it. Look at how good that looks. Oh, so fab. So the blue is done for the most part. The blue part of the flag is done. I do have a couple of what I'm calling sprinkle stitches or ninjas. The stars all have 1 or 2 white stitches in, 1 or 2 very pale blue, practically white in them. But the blue part is in effect. It is done. It looks so good. This is one of those ones where up close it looks kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. But then you take a step back, or you take a picture of it, or you look at it through the viewfinder of your camera, And you're like, oh yeah, now I see that. I see the folds. Yes. So much yes going on here. So this, the reason that it looks kind of funny up close is that it uses a blend. And so the blends always look a little choppy, they're not smooth blends, they're just a blend of a light shade and a darker shade. Whew, looked like a stitch was falling out. I was about to be upset. Anyway, all is well, and I'm head over heels. Head over heels. I'm having so much fun working on this, and I love seeing the progress. I love to step back and see those folds suddenly appear. It is sudden because, I mean, it's not three-dimensional. It's 2D, like in real life, but it looks 3D when you give it some space. My gosh, I love this so much. So onward we shall go. But today is such a good day. Winter solstice, Thor's Gotcha Day, and the beginning of Full Coverage Fanatics, like officially. Like 2018 Full Coverage Fanatics is hitting the ground running today, and I was so excited. I haven't stitched legitimately on full coverage of any kind since finishing Faces of Fairy in October. The entire month of November, nothing. This first half of December, nothing. There were 2 days where I worked on In This Moment and Mini Pirate for the Nano Stitch Mill, but other than that, nothing. And the amount of full coverage stitching that I have done this year, Ann P called me out on it. She was like, were you having withdrawals? I kind of feel like I was having withdrawals because I just didn't, I haven't done this. So I was really stoked. This morning, got up, got my fabric loaded onto my frame, sat down to stitch, and it was so good. So good. So the first sal that kicked off is the quarterly winter sal, because today is winter solstice, and so the seasonal sals, the quarterly seasonal sals, correspond with the solstice and equinoxes of the year. And so that's why this one started a few days before 2018. And I've talked about it a few times, but I am working Snow Castle by Heaven and Earth Designs. Artwork by Randall Spangler. And it is this long, thin design that starts up here in these dark blues, and you can kind of see this ghosty wizard figure up there. And there's a couple of ghosty looking dragon faces. This gorgeous turreted castle. And then down here at the bottom we have these two dragons doing something with a fire. Not sure what they're doing. Probably getting up to all sorts of trouble. But yeah, so I was like ready. So giddy to start this morning. And so my fabric for this is 25 count Easy Count Lugana by Zweigart. This is a cut from the yard that Trucking Stitcher sent me so very kindly. So this is my first piece of that. So all sorts of cool things going on with this. And so it's really exciting, the start. It's so exciting. Let me tell you. You will not believe me, and it's okay. Sometimes I don't believe that I'm using the right color either. But there are 2 colors in there. Anchor Black, because I've decided to sub the Anchor Black in for this piece. Because there's quite a lot of black in the trees. And so I just want to make sure that there's that coverage. And 823. And if you go look at your bobbin or skein or stitches of 823, it is the deepest, darkest navy in the world. And I sometimes have to shine a light on it just to be able to tell the difference between it and black to make sure that I have the right color. So if I'm off by a stitch or so, nobody's gonna know, least of which me. So I ain't bothered. And so I have all of the snowflake binders for this project. This is not very wide. The total design is 8 inches wide, and so this I cut to 14 inches wide. It is tall though. It is charted to be, excuse me, it is charted to be 25 inches tall. So this is a 33-inch tall cut. Because I like a little bit of extra length, like up the top. So there's that. So excited. I absolutely love how it's going. It felt so good. It took a long time to get into the groove with it. Just because I haven't done this in so long, but by the time I did, it was like zoom zoom. And you know, it's just 2 colors right now. And it's just going to be 2 colors with a few ninja stitches of other things thrown in for interest, I guess. So my plan for the rest of December, we'll talk about that, and then the other things. So my plans for the rest of December. I am working on Snow Castle at least today, tomorrow, and whatever stitching I have on Saturday. Saturday is our first of 4, yes, 4 Christmas parties, and so and Saturday is going to be a full day. So limited stitching on Saturday, I think, which is okay. And then Saturday night I have some baking to do. And then, so today, Friday, Saturday is when I'll be working on Snow Castle. Then on Sunday, we are headed to my mom's, and we are staying the night at my mom's Christmas Eve and into Christmas morning. And so I want to take stitching with me because there may be some reasonable downtime where I can do some stitching. Who knows? But I don't want to take anything too elaborate. And so what I've decided to take is Santa Claus is Coming to Town by Stitchrovia, Emma Congdon. And this gorgeous reindeer minder. This was one of the December 6th that Shannon had picked, and so I thought it appropriate to give it some effort. So I'll be taking this and my Q-snap so that I can stitch, you know, when there's a few minutes here and there. And so this is where I'm starting from. This is on 32 count Belfast in Ice Crystals by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. So that's where I'm starting with that. And so that I'll work on probably Sunday a little bit, maybe on Tuesday. Or no, Sunday and then Monday. Maybe on Monday, although stitching I think is going to be very limited on Monday because Christmas morning and then that evening we're having Christmas with Danny's parents. So then we'll have to drive back down here to and then visit and have Christmas Monday evening. So I might stitch some Monday night depending on when we get back, but there's no guarantees of that. Then on Tuesday, let's see, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are free days. Thursday is the Virginia Tech bowl game against Oklahoma State, so that will be a thing to watch on Thursday night. But up until that point, there will be stitching of some such. I don't know what. I might work on Lady of the Flag because yeah, I'm there. That's where I am right now. I'm really excited about Snow Castle, but Lady of the Flag is my number 1 lady right now. I might touch on the other 3 for December 6th. I think I have 2. If I work on Santa Coming to Town, then I'll have 2 left that I haven't worked on yet. So I might do that. I might work on Snow Castle. Who knows? Who knows what I'll do? But something will happen, and so I'll talk about it next week. And then Friday we have Christmas party number 4. I can't keep track of them. And that is with Danny's aunts. And then Saturday is Danny's birthday. And so we'll be getting together probably with Danny's parents for birthday dinner and whatnot. So that'll be fun. And then it's New Year's Eve. And holy cannoli, it's New Year's Eve. We are just on the cusp of 2018, which is kind of wild. I won't talk about like end of year stuff this video because I plan on filming next week, depending on what's going on. So I'll talk about that then. So let's do things that have arrived in the mail, and then I will talk about 2018. So there's only one thing that has arrived in the mail, but it was a three-fer. So I was contacted by Olivia like a month ago or something like that, and she was like, hey, can I have your address? I want to send you my Christmas card. I was like, somebody's going to send me their Christmas card. I'm so excited. And then we started seeing what the Christmas card was, and I was so excited. And so she and the ever wonderful Elena, her sister, got together and did this super cute little photo shoot. And I'm sure you've seen this all over FlossTube because a whole bunch of people got this card. So, and super glare. So cute. So cute. So now I have 2 Christmas cards, both from Stitchy people. So that's pretty awesome. And I love this. I told my brother, I said, we need to step our sibling game up because this is next level. So adorable, those two. Ugh. But then I realized it was a package. It wasn't just an envelope with this card in it. This was in it. Are you kidding me right now? Blue Ribbon Designs, Turn the Page, a bookmark sampler. Right? This is so cute. I don't know that this is something that I would necessarily pick up myself. And I can't wait to stitch this. I can't wait to stitch this. I'm going to stitch it like 85 times so I can make a bunch of bookmarks. I love this. So very sweet. But wait. What is it? The piece de resistance? Let me get it off my project here. You probably saw a sneak peek of it because this is my needle minder that will be on every project from here on until forever. Little bulldog head. So adorable. And looks a lot like Thor. His markings are a little different, and Thor is not a mouth breather, usually, which is kind of a strange thing. But I just realized that because I was trying to take a picture with this in the foreground and then him in the background so you could see the comparison, and he like doesn't breathe with his mouth open. It's always the tooth. But I love that so much. It's so cute. Olivia said that she saw this and knew that it was meant to be, and I'm so eternally grateful. So Olivia, Elena, you two beautiful, wonderful, fabulous, and generous, and kind, and just so cool. Hashtag Stitchy Christmas has got to be my favorite place on Instagram right now because it's just so happy. These 2 gorgeous faces. Like all over Instagram. It's so fab. So wonderful. Thank you so very much for including me, and for such a wonderful gift. I should have waited till Christmas to open it because it was like a Christmas gift. That's what it felt like. Like it just kept going, and just so wonderful. So that is all that has arrived this week. And except for Fabric of the Month from Hand Dyed by Stephanie, that's all I'm really expecting. Okay, so let's switch gears and we're going to talk 2018. Now, I am going to talk about all three of my major interests, and that is stitching, of course, and then knitting and reading. But I'm going to do stitching first, so for those of you who don't care anything about what I'm going to do knitting or reading-wise next year, you are more than welcome to tune off whenever, of course, as always. So let's get started. Now, I think the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to talk to you about my bullet journal first. This was my bullet journal 2017. And you will know that I started this at the beginning of the year thinking that this was going to be the end-all be-all for me. I thought that it was going to be the ultimate solution and that I was going to use this and stay organized and track all of the things that I wanted to track. And I have used, this is the softcover version, and I have officially used 65 pages. So about half I have used. But let me show you a prime example. Here is a few lines. So I wanted to write a few lines every day. Just something that had happened, a dream, a song stuck in my head, an idea, whatever. I wanted to write every day. And so you see how that went. And that's how that went in July. Let's see here. Let me find another prime example of how well I used this. Oh yeah. Okay, so I did my March intro page, which I thought turned out really cute. I put way too much time into that, but nonetheless. And then I was going to then fill in with my monthly pages and my weeklies, and I was gonna do it in March. I was gonna take the reins back. So you will see here on the opposite page, and March is on page 26, and April is on page 27. Yeah. And so here I used another cute little font, and I said, April, I've got big plans for you. And you can see where I stopped using it. Okay. Did pretty good on my Stitch from Stash page and my book log page in April, so there's that at least. Can't believe I started the Storyteller in April. That's kind of sad. I still haven't finished it. I was going to do a gratitude log. So on the 13th, I let go because I didn't fill this out until the 10th or the 11th. I did one weekly, which I liked, but it took way too long to set this up. Way too long. And then I started planning for Mania. And that was the end of April. I missed May entirely, so here's June. Like, I was atrocious at using this. And the biggest reason for that is the amount of time that can be spent in making it pretty. And I've had this conversation with several people, Sammy J Stitches and Rachel from Rara's Realm, who is another Kiwi Stitcher who's a FlossTuber that you should be watching, because she's phenomenal. Both of their channels will be linked below, both Sammy and Rachel. So we sort of I've had conversations with them about how bullet journaling is fantastic if it's utilitarian. If you have to make it pretty, it takes forever. And who wants to spend time doing art in this book when I could be doing art with thread and fabric? Right? Am I right? So that's why I failed at this. I know that is why, because I got too caught up in making it look good. And if it didn't look good, let me see if I can find that page. here was my book log, and I was going to try to use a different font, and I didn't save space, and I didn't pay attention to the heights of the letters. And down here I left myself a note. Proof that a bad spread leads to lack of journaling. So I didn't use my book log, and I don't even think I read like hardly anything in July because my book log looked like crap. So too much thought goes into making it look nice. And so I have adjusted my plan to something very utilitarian, something very simple, and not get caught up in making it look good, because ultimately, like, this is not going in a museum. I'm not going to become a bullet journal vlogger or videographer or YouTuber. Like, nobody's going to look at this but me. So it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be boho berry. So I started a new journal. Now, I ordered this to hopefully use as a business journal, but I have found that I don't really need it. I don't really need a dedicated journal for business. And so I've decided to repurpose it for my stitching in my life. And I ordered this probably back in June, I want to say, maybe July. And the Pantone color of the year for 2018 is ultraviolet. So how fitting is that? Now, it's showing up way more blue than it is in real life. It's purple. I mean, it's ultraviolet. It's purple. So I was like, well, that's fab. Apparently that's the word that I'm using these days, is fab. So I have spent the last couple of days getting it set up because I'm starting from the ground up. And I'm doing this differently than I did with this one. So I'm going to run through this real quick. Basic index page. I have done some things. This thing is riddled with mistakes. And yeah, it's just riddled with them. So we have my future log, and this is the first 6 months of the year, and I'm not going to bring it too close because I don't want necessarily all of those details to be shared with you, because this does include some life things. But like I said, this is just the first 6 months, and we'll reevaluate in the next 6 months. I changed up the formatting of this because I just wanted like a longer section to write things, and I think that's going to work out pretty great. And it's color coded, so different colors mean different things. You will notice, well, I'll show that to you on a different page that's maybe not so personal. So this is my, these are my trackers, and so I have a social media tracker and then my interests and goals tracker. My interests and goals tracker I haven't done yet, but my social media tracker is a simplified but still the exact same concept as the one from last year. So I have these tabs for each of the months, and on the first of each month I will go in and fill in last month's statistics. So this one is tracking Instagram, this one is YouTube, followers, not views, and then this one is the Storyteller Collection on Facebook, how many members in the group we have there. And I wrote up here, growth is the only goal, because that's the reality. I don't have a goal for the number of subscribers or followers on Instagram or anything like that. I just want to see growth. I am committing time to certain aspects of social media, and so I just want to see some growth with that. That's really all it is. But I really like tracking this throughout the year. Let me pull up my one from this year. I have stayed on top of this year. So that's kind of what it is. And so on Instagram at the start of the year I had roughly 2,000 followers. At the end of January I had 2,094. I forgot to do February's, and so you can just see the growth. So I have gained roughly, wow, is that legit? Wow, 1,250 followers on Instagram over the course of the year. So that's pretty remarkable. Yeah, I like that. YouTube is the same. Started around 2390. I forgot February. And so grew by about 1,000 subscribers on YouTube this year. And then this one down here is the Storyteller Collection. This thing that I'm covering up over here is my personal life goals, and so I'm not sharing that with you. But this is the Storyteller Collection, and so obviously I didn't open that until June, and so that's how that has changed. And let me go ahead and cover that up. So this is what I want to recreate. This is the one thing that's pretty in this journal that I want to recreate in my new one, because I just really like how it turned out. And I picked a few goals for each of the categories. I have a tendency of going a little bit above and beyond and overboard with goal setting sometimes. When I was working for the lab, quick anecdote here, when I was working for the lab, we had to do goal setting every 6 months or something like that. And my boss was really laid back about the goal setting. He was like, whatever you want to do. Except once, he suggested that I put set fewer goals is my goal. So anyway, so that is that. Now here you may see mistake number 1. And that is with this divider line here. It should be down 1 more row, but I goofed, and so it's touching the bottom of these little banners here, and there's an extra space down here, and I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. It Jessified it. It's fine. I also hate what I did up here with the H with the, so it is in big letters in pencil, and then overdone with a midliner, a zebra midliner, basically a highlighter. And then I, in cursive, wrote it again in one of my Staedtler 3mm, or 0.3mm, excuse me, pens. And so I took the tail of the H and brought it back around across the T. And if I was paying attention to making this look pretty, that would have never flown. I think that would not stick. But I don't care. Just going with it. Okay. In my other journal, my books read in the year page was just 1 page, and that kind of bugged me a little bit. I'll just go ahead and pull it up and show you. It bugged me that it was so little, because if I had read more, then I would have very quickly run out of room. This is 16 books here, and my goal was to read 45 for the year. So I needed a little bit of extra space, because I have a very similar goal for this year. And so I just needed some more breathing room. So I just basically opened it up on 2 pages. And so I have my key up here for a diverse read, a chunkster, published in 2018, and then a challenge read. And then these denote the format, so a reread, an audiobook, or an ebook. So that is the books read page. Okay, next is where things get, I don't want to say they're pretty, but they're more than utilitarian, shall we say. So this is my Year of Whip spread. And I wanted to do these honeycombs, but I've got more Year of Whips than I had space for honeycombs, for individual honeycombs. But that is based on this that I did last year. And so I said that if I finished a column, then I would get to add this amount of money to a savings goal for my next big chatelaine kit. And ironically enough, I finished exactly 0 of these. This one looks filled out, but I accidentally colored in the wrong one. So none of that is going into my chatelaine kit at the end of the year. This is another one where I spent way too much time up here, and I still ended up using this, but I didn't want to spend all that time on this year. So I wanted to do a honeycomb for Year of Whips, but I have 22 projects for Year of Whips 2.0. And I'm going to do a dedicated separate video for that. That will not be here today. So I had to change things up. So I did the honeycombs, and then I counted, and I went, wow, I only have 14, but I've got, 8 more projects than that. So I ended up cutting these honeycombs in half, and so I have randomly ordered the projects. So you can see here in pencil, I have 18 and 14 in this first honeycomb. And so when I finish both of those projects, well, first of all, when I finish one, I'm going to color it in. And then when I finish both, then some denomination of money is going to go into my savings goal towards my next insert project here. Just as some monetary motivation. And then down here I wrote YOW 2018 because I had these extra ones. What are you going to do? Okay. Next we have my knitting 2018 spread. And I will talk more about this here in a second, but up the top here, sock, whip, and WWP, that will all make sense when I talk knitting. Okay, here's where things got interesting. Okay, so this knitting spread is on page 17. I wanted dedicated pages for the 2 main stitching groups that I am in, and I wanted to have just a real quick 1 page where I can look at this and go, okay, what sales do I have coming up? What am I participating in? Just to have a general view of what I'm working on coming up. So, but things got jacked up here. Things are not how they should be. Is this where things went wrong? I mean, it's where things went wrong, but the pages went weird. Yeah, so books read is on page 6 and 15. I ripped pages out. Because I had oodles of mistakes. And so yeah. But things still continued to go wrong. So this one on the left here, the left? Yes, the left is the full coverage phonetics. And so up the top, we have the quarterly cells. So on the left, we have the seasonals, and on the right, we have the elemental. And so I have them written out along with their dates, as well as my planned projects. And some of them have missing spaces because I haven't decided what I'm working on yet. Then we have this line here, which is by the numbers. So that is a year-long sal, 1,200 stitches a month into a project or whatever. Each month has to be 1 project, but you can work on like up to 12 projects in the year for this. It's just putting a dedicated 1,200 stitches into a project rather than spreading 1,200 over 6 projects in the same month. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, so by the numbers, and I am working on 1 project all year for that. And I'll talk about that in a minute here. And then these are the monthly sales. And the monthly sales is where I just, my brain stopped working, I guess. So let's see. We have June, and the themes for the monthly sales in full coverage phonetics are ocean or blue. And then July is travel or red. And then next I put traditions in yellow, and those who are well versed in the full coverage phonetics events will know that that is not August. August is animals or brown, not traditions or yellow. That would be September. And so if I zoom in here, you will see holiday purple, and then harvest orange, and then harvest orange again. Yeah, I missed one. And I'm at a point where this book has been put together where I can't rip that out. So I'm going to white out the mistakes and fix it. But it gets better than that. See if I can show that. No, it's taped down. Okay, so this is a Dutch door. It's basically a way that you can have some information here and stuck in the middle of 2 pages. So I wanted to make sure that I could associate the different months with these sals. And so when I have this Dutch door flipped over here, you can see pretty clearly, because they're on the same line, that Fantasy and Gray is January. and Flowers in Pink is February, etc. Oh, look, there's another mistake. I wrote November. It's supposed to be October. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I just couldn't brain anymore. But this was a mistake. Or no, maybe it wasn't. It was because I didn't have enough space to write the month as well as the name of the sal in some cases. Or I didn't want to have to write it twice, although I did end up writing it twice. I don't know. There were reasons. It was a bad day. So anyway, so I can see that. I also, this is Stitch Mania's. So we have Stitch Mania's theme sals and Stitch Mania's Tour de Designer sals. And so the same concept is true here. If I close it this way, then you will see that January, the Tour de Designer is Glendon Place. February is the Frosted Pumpkin. If I open it, then you can still see pretty clearly that January is New Year, New Start, etc. And so this is just a general planning page so that I can see if I want to fit projects into these sals in Stitch Mania. Up top here, I'm also going to talk about any other sals that I want to participate in, but I just wanted to make sure that this section was lined up with this section on Full Coverage Fanatics so that I can get the Dutch door to work, no matter how it's open or closed. So there's that. And so some very rudimentary planning has begun there. Here's another mistake. So I finished that and I was like, all right, I've got to move on. I have to move on. This was before I started filling anything in. I was like, I've got to move on to the next page. And so the next page was supposed to be my whip list. So I was going to list all of the whips. So flip over and look, works in progress, 2018. And so I'm going to list them all here. And as I add things or start things rather, they'll just go in accordingly. And I have up here the date written in green is the date started, the date written in red is the date finished. I may cross things out if I decide to UFO things because I'm the queen of UFOs. Who knows? Who knows what we'll do? But this is just going to be just a list of them all. And there are, I believe there's enough for like 90 items here. So plenty. But here's the thing. When I flipped to here, I didn't make sure there wasn't a page. I had these two random pages stuck here in the middle. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with these two random pages because I had plans for after the fact, but 2 pages wasn't going to do it. So I ended up making it a brain dump page. My brain just gave up on these pages, and so a brain dump page would be great. And ironically enough, I really needed it so that I could write down FrenchNeedle.com for the study kits by Veronique and Ginger. I'm probably mispronouncing that, and I apologize to anybody who speaks the French language. But if you're on Stitch Mania, then you know what that's about. That is something that I'm going to have to refer back to because I want all of those, every one of them. So that happened. And then we have the works in progress list like I showed you. And then I haven't started filling in anything else yet, but I will. I don't plan on using this like a weekly agenda sort of a thing. That I rarely effectively used my original bullet journal for that fact. And I don't have the things to keep track of that people who use these as like a daily planner or an agenda sort of thing. I don't have those things going on in my life. Not at this stage of my life anyway. So I have some ideas, and so I'm going to put them to paper and then transfer them into this, and I'll talk about that more in the future. So this page is kind of telling. It's really telling. This is how I formatted my rotation for next year. A ton of Full Coverage Fanatics sals, which I intend on participating in every single one of them. And then I guess this page is pretty important too for that. Year of Whips. and then also the Stitch Mania sales. And so I have been trying to format a rotation that's going to work for this. And I think that I've figured it out. So like I said, I have 22 projects that are in my Year of WIPs 2018. However, 5 of those are the pages for In This Moment. And so I'll be working 5 pages this year. That counts for 5 projects because this year a page finish counts as a project for Year of WIPs. 2 of those projects, I just had a thought. I don't know that it can count. Wait, no, it's 10. It's 12. Okay. Forgive that momentary lapse. 2 of those projects are pages on Mini Pirate. I want to get 2 pages at least done on Mini Pirate. So that's 7 projects right there. So now we're down to 15. 4 of those remaining 15 are Flower of the Months. So that is the design by Alan Morris-Stroh that has the individual pieces. And Melanie sort of made the statement that if you're working on a project that's got individual pieces or individual charts, you can count each one as a project. And so the February flower, the April flower, May, and June are going to count for me as 4 projects. So now we are up to 11 projects in those individual part pieces. So that means that 11 other projects are actual projects for Year of WIPs. And so that was another thing that I had to take into consideration for my rotation. Here's the other thing. I had thought to make it a very Mirabilia focused year because I have so many going right now. It's ridiculous and it's uncomfortable and I don't like it. And I have at least 2 starting next year at some point. So like I need to clear out some Miras, and so I had planned on focusing on a different Mira each quarter of the year. It's not going to work like that now because Lady of the Flag takes precedence over every other one of those ladies. Every other one, Lady of the Flag, like I said, she's my number 1. And then there's all of these full coverage Fanatic sales, and how on earth am I going to work on potentially 4 projects a month to satisfy the 4 different sales: monthly, quarterly elemental, quarterly seasonal, and by the numbers? How was I going to make that work? I figured it out. So here's my calendar. I keep this digitally so that I can edit it as I see fit. And so we'll start with this side because this is really pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory. Originally, I had thought to base my rotation based on the project birthdays or the project start dates. And so on the 1st of January in 2016, I started Autumn Fairy by Chatelaine, and in 2017, I started January by the Cricket Collection. So I thought about working on those on the 1st. And this works out pretty well for most months. February here only has 2. But there's one major exception, and that is May. I think I have 25 active projects that have been started in May. And I can't work on that many projects in a month. It makes me mental. I can't do that anymore. So I had to scrap that idea. But I still have that information here because I kind of like to see that. And if, let's say on the 22nd, I'm like, I don't know what I want to work on, maybe I'll pull out Tingles by Lizzie Kate. Who knows? So there's that. Okay, now let's move over to the main calendar. This text that you're seeing here in light gray, that's just show through from the page behind it. Okay, so first 4 days. Every month, the continuous first 4 days of the month will be dedicated to the Stitch Mania Sal. So this is based on either the themed Sal or the Tour de Designer Sal if I don't have anything for the theme Sal, or I don't have anything that I want to work on for the theme Sal. Then I might switch over and do Tour de Designers depending on how it shakes out. So for Mania in January, it is New Year, New Start. So I will be having my New Year, New Start. Now I have Poison Garden written there, but I don't know that I'll be starting Poison Garden. It may be January Snowdrop by Cottage Garden Samplings, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's what I have there. Next, I'm going to skip the weekend for a second. Week 2, so the second continuous 4 days in the month, Mirabilia, Lady of the Flag. I'm going to give Lady of the Flag at least 4 days every month till she's done. My goal is to have her done. I would really like to have her done by the end of the year next year. With just 4 days dedicated, I'm going to have to put in some good work on those 4 days to make that happen. So that's that. And then the remaining 4-day chunks and then this last 3-day chunk. That is still up for debate. I had thought about focusing on 2 of my Year of Whips projects and sort of alternating between those 2 for a quarter. But that's not going to work because that gives each of those projects roughly 8 to 12 days apiece. And some of these are not going to get done in 8 to 12 days. So, not to mention, it ignores all of my other projects. It ignores the 40 other projects that are not in this Year of Whips plan. So that's not really going to fly. So I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to random number generator from my remaining Year of Whips projects that haven't been worked on otherwise in the month and pull 2 of those by a random number generator. And I'm going to put in at least 100 stitches or a day. Let's go with that. I'm going to dedicate at least 1 day to each of my Year of Whips projects when I random number generate them. Once I complete either up to a 3-day rotation or 4 days, or that 1 day if it's something I don't really feel like working on, then I'm going to work on whatever I want from anything else. Ideally, I would like to work on things that I haven't worked on yet in 2018 because that's a consistent goal, is to work on every project that I have at least once in 2018. So that might be how those last few days are formatted. We'll see what happens. Now, I want to show you February because one of the things that I want to sort of reiterate is that I don't care for switching projects too much. It's just not my jam. And so my Stitch Mania Sal is going to get a dedicated straight 4 days. Maybe I won't work on it all 4 days, but I will have that project loaded up, set up, and ready to go for those 4 days. Stitch Mania, Wine and Whips, and Nano Stitch Mode do not apply to this rule. But at the very least, 4 days for Stitch Mania project. So when I bring up February here, you're going to see that the first is on a Thursday, and then we lead into the weekend, which I'm going to go back and talk about here in a second. Okay, so we have just the 1 day before the weekend here. Well, that's January. Just the 1 day before the weekend here. So that's not a continuous 4 days. And so I am instead just shifting everything down. So my Stitch Mania Sal will get a full 4 days. My Lady of the Mirabilia. Really? Lady of the Flag is going to get a dedicated 4 days. And then there's these 7 days down here. Because February is 28 days, March coincidentally is exactly the same. So it starts on the 1st on Thursday, and then we head into a weekend again. So that's kind of how I'm formatting things. Non-full coverage fanatics. Now, one of the things that I considered most successful for me with regards to Faces of Fairy, I basically stitched that whole project this year. And I basically stitched the whole thing from June to October. So 4 months. And what I did is I worked on that on the weekends. Friday through Sunday was Heaven and Earth design time. And so that is what I have decided to do moving forward. Coincidentally and perfectly enough, there are at least 4 weekends in every single month. And so that works out really great because, like I told you, I have 4 full coverage fanatic sals to try to work in here. Monthly, quarterly elemental, quarterly seasonal, and by the numbers. And one thing I should mention is that you don't have to work on the quarterly elementals every month. I'm just choosing to. I'm choosing to give them some time throughout the quarter. So here's how this is going to work. And I have January pulled up. Weekend 1 is the monthly sal. Weekend 2 is the seasonal sal. Week 3 is the elemental sal. And week 4 is by the numbers. Here's why week 4 is by the numbers. Because I have to get 1,200 stitches into this project in those 3 days. If I can't get it done, if we're out of town, or I don't stitch because I have a migraine, whatever, insert reason here, there are usually days after the weekend. In fact, in every case, I think. No, that's not true. I'll evaluate that if need be. There are usually days after the weekend to where if I get 900 stitches here in these 3 days, then I've got 3 more days to get those last 300. Or, whatever. Or if I feel like it, I can stick with it a little bit longer. So I'm just going to talk to you about January real quick, and then in future months I'll talk to you about what my different projects are for these different sals. So the monthly sal for full coverage fanatics is it is fantasy or grays, and so for that I chose Snow Castle by Randall Spangler, which I just started here. It's fantasy. There are dragons over cookfire. Like it's fantasy. So there's that. I'm trying to fit the themes more than the colors because there are 88 colors in Snow Castle, and so gray is one of them. So I'm just trying to fit themes where I can. Okay, the quarterly seasonal, as we know, is winter, and so I'll be working on Snow Castle by Randall Spangler. The quarterly elemental is air for this first quarter, and so this quarter does not follow the solstices or the equinoxes. It follows the first 3 months of the year, so the January 1st through March 31st. And I chose Snow Castle by Randall Spangler, and the reason for that is you saw the little guy who was sort of floating in smoke. That's very airy. One of my favorite winter memes is, why do I live in a place where the air hurts my face? And it's winter, and this is a snowy scene, and it's a winter scene, and so air hurting somebody's face. I don't know. So that's kind of what I'm going with as far as fitting that theme. It's real laid back in the full coverage fanatics. Like, it does not have to look like wind blowing. If you can make it fit, you can, good on you, make it work. Anne has really, she's not made it super strict and whatever. So Snow Castle is going to get potentially 9 days in January. So that's pretty great. It's also going to get at least 6 days moving forward through the end of March because it is my quarterly sal piece. So there's that. I decided to make the quarterly seasonal sal the second week because that ends usually on the 20th or the 21st, and so I'll be able to get 3 months worth of progress for that sal on this one piece, and that's the same throughout the year. And then By the Numbers is In This Moment by Jeremiah Kettner, Heaven and Earth Designs. I'm working on this absolutely every month to get at least 1,200 stitches every month. I'm doubling up, and so this is going to come out as a quarterly sale. It's going to come up as a monthly sale. I'm working on this absolutely as much as possible because, like I told you, it's one of my Year of Whips pieces. I want to get 5 pages done in this moment this year. So I'm going to be putting in some work. So there's that. And so February is going to look very similar except for the monthly sale. The monthly sale is pink or flowers, and In This Moment has some flowers. So I'll be working on In This Moment twice and Snow Castle twice. So that's that. That's my rotation there. Like I said, I'm doing Whipocalypse, but my projects for Whipocalypse are the exact same as Year of Whips. It's just some added accountability. So I have to report to 2 separate people. Here's what I did. I am working on these things. I promise. It's real. I mean, it's for me. It's not for anybody else. But I want to stay accountable and to stay true to these goals that I set. I let Year of Whips go like a month ago. And I don't want that to happen because my ultimate stitching goal for 2018 is I'm going to have more finishes than new starts. That is a guarantee because my 2 finishes to 1 new start rule, it applies. Ideally, I would like to finish the year with under 60 whips. So that means that I need 10 more finishes than new starts, which basically means, I don't even know what that means, but it just means I have to have 10 more finishes. And so I need to be held accountable to some Year of Whips, Whipocalypse, whatever I got to do. If I need a babysitter to watch over me and make sure that I'm doing what I need to be doing, then so be it. Obviously, all of this focus on full coverage, I have no inclination that I'm going to finish a Heaven and Earth design next year. It's not even in the cards. It's not even in the goals to finish the entire project. And devoting time to full coverage pieces takes away from the other projects that I want to finish. But I'm such a full coverage stitcher that I've got to go where my mind takes me, and my mind is taking me down this path where I focus on some full coverage this year. So there's that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else stitching goals wise for the year. Not that I can think of. Like I said, I have a video coming of my 2018 Year of Whips projects and what ones I want to work on next year. But that will probably be after the new year when I share that. Like last time, I want to do like an absolute record of this is where I'm starting for Year of Whips. And Year of Whips this time starts January 18th on Melanie's birthday. So, and it goes to, I believe it goes to her birthday in 2019. So I believe we have a full year, but I don't know. Anyway, so that is it for the stitching. So if you want to hear anything about my plans for knitting or books, then stick around. So I'm going to do, let's do knitting first, because that'll be pretty quick. I'm going to pull up this page here again. And here's what it boils down to. I want to work on my whips. I want to knit some socks. And I want to participate in the Willy Wonka Palooza hosted by Ann P. of Willy Wonka Fibers. She is also the same Ann P. of FlossTube fame and Full Coverage Fanatics. She does everything. When she sleeps, I don't know. But she's running an event in her Ravelry group called Willy Wonka Palooza, where, again, it's themed either different projects or knitting textures, etc., or colors each month. There is incentive for participating in this and for being successful. So there's a point system involved, and it's a graded point system. So the more yards that you knit in your project, the more points you get, etc. And my final goal is stash down. You guys see all that yarn. I know you do. And there's more. It's everywhere. There's so much yarn. I would like to use some of my yarn. I have some beautiful things in there that I have wanted to use, and so it's time. And so let's go through this. So first column, sock. First goal, knit socks. When I originally hatched this plan to knit some socks next year, I was like, I'm gonna knit 12 pair of socks next year. Watch me do this. Who am I? Like, I'm not gonna knit 12 pair of socks next year. It's insane for me to even dream of that, because my first pair of socks did not go very well. I am not a very fast knitter, and I have other goals. So there's no way that I can conceivably knit 12 pair of socks next year. However, I could do 6. I think I could do 6, which equates to 1 sock per month. So January and February will be a pair of socks. So I'll have a pair of socks at the end of February. And then March, April, etc., moving down. So what is my first pair of socks? I themed them. I'm doing mostly small dyers, but some commercial dyers, because I have some commercial dyer sock yarns in my stash there. Most of my socks are in the far box over there. But there's a couple down there, and there's a few in there, and there's quite a few over there, and there's a ton. You see that binder right there? There's a ton to the left of that. I have a ton of sock yarn, because I thought I was going to be a sock knitter, y'all. So they're themed based on the month when I'm casting them on. And so January, I think, pretty blue winter. And so this yarn that I showed you last week, Sweet Georgia Tough Love Sock in West Wind, this is going to be my first pair of socks. I wanted to do one of my yarns from Sadie at Knitter's Nightmare, the Fox in the Snow. That is the first one that I wanted to do, and I was not going to butcher the French language again to try to say that correctly. I wanted to use that one, but because I did not do very well with my first pair of socks, I don't want to mess that yarn up or mess up socks with that yarn. I don't want a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm starting with this. It's basic, it's tonal blues, minty blues, wintry blues. It's ideal for my first pair. Not to mention, I can't imagine that I'm going to knit a perfectly sized pair of socks my very first go around. So this won't break my heart if they don't fit. This will be a good learning experience yarn. So there's that. Okay, so that's that. And as the months go by, I'll show you what I'm knitting for the next socks. The next column is whips. I did some frogging on some of my projects that I don't care for, and I now have 7 active whips as far as knitting is concerned. A couple of them are going to take a while, but I'm going to focus on 1 a month, just 1. So I predict that it'll take me a week or more to do the sock, a week or more to work on the whip, and then a week or more to work on the Willy Wonka Palooza project, and I'll talk about that further here in a second. Some of these I could finish in a week. Like, if I put some dedicated time into them, they'd be done. No problem, in a week. Some of them are going to need a little bit more than that. So, for instance, my 3-color cashmere shawl, I've decided to give that 2 months, where it's going to be my focus whip. My starting point shawl by Joji Locatelli, that is also going to carry with me into 2019, I can already tell you. But that one's going to get 2 focus months. My hourglass throw, that is goal number 1. Like, this is like my leading lady, my number 1. is to get Hourglass Throw done. I cast that on in 2014. It's time. It's time to finish it. So that one's got 2 dedicated months next year. So that brings us up to 10, and so then there are 2 months without dedicated whips. One of those is January, because I'm going to be learning how to knit a sock, and so this is probably going to take me longer to do the first time around than maybe the rest of the year, goodness willing. I also have a ton of stitching goals and, beginning of the year shenanigans, so I decided not to put a dedicated whip there. I'm going to get used to this plan in January. The other one where I don't have a dedicated whip is October. And in October, I've decided I'm going to do Socktober. So rather than focus on whips, I'm just going to knit socks the whole month. If I can. If I can make it work with Willy Wonka Palooza, then I'm going to do socks all October. So in October, I will be knitting the second of my September socks. And I know for certain that I'll be casting this on in October. Without a doubt. This is Willy Wonka Fibers Rhiannon sock in Which Way? Hello Perfect for October. Right? Yeah, that is happening. So, yeah. That's a done deal. That will be happening in October. And then, who knows, I've got a metric ton of sock yarn, and so I will cast on all of the socks in October. So that takes care of those 2 columns. Next is Willy Wonka Palooza. And I don't have everything planned out for the whole year in Willy Wonka Palooza. In fact, I have nothing written here. I have January, but I didn't write it in. And the prompt for January is lace or gray. And the approach that I took is stash down. I want to use what I've got in all of that to stash down. And I wanted to start with something soft. Something also not huge, because if I start with something huge and I don't finish it in the month of January, I'm going to get discouraged. You don't have to finish it in the same month that you start it, but I kind of want to do that. I want to see if I can finish things. And so I decided on a 1 skein project for January. And this is perfect. So this is the Plucky Knitter, established in 2007. I didn't know that. Oh, yes, I did. Never mind. I've been getting their 10-year anniversary emails. Anyway, they're an independent, I don't know if I would call them that anymore. They're a dyer based in Michigan. And they are notorious for tonals, rich colors. And this is gray, obviously. I was a part of their classic subscription for a couple years. I'm not a part of it any longer, and I don't even know if they're doing it anymore. But this was from the December 2015. Wow, this is old yarn. This is from December 2015, and the colorway is Kindred Spirits. And the inspiration for these is always classic movies. And this one is Anne of Green Gables. Anne with an E. I thought that was pretty perfect. I wanted to do either one of Anne's designs or use one of Anne's yarns for Willy Wonka Palooza because it's hosted by Willy Wonka Fibers. But I couldn't make it work this time. I'm going to try to do so in the months to come for the future knit-alongs. But this one I went with what I had in stash and with something that's been in my queue a while. And so what I'm going to be knitting, and I'll insert a picture of it, it is the Rochambeau Cowlette by Karina Spencer. And she calls them cowlettes. I call them scowls. And so they are shawls, but they are actually cowls. So they look like a shawl, but they're knit in the round so that they don't fall off your neck. And it looks like a shawl, but it's not, which I think is pretty fabulous. So, It has some gorgeous lace detailing on the edging, and like I said, I will have inserted a picture. So this will be cast on January 1st for that knit along. And this is 7525 superwash merino cashmere nylon. Soft. So there's that. So that's my plan for knitting. So I will have a new cast on every month. Hopefully I'll be knitting like the wind so that I can finish socks and finish old whips. I'm really excited. So these two are my January. Now let's say I finished my sock, I finished my whip, I finished my Woolly Wackapalooza project, and there's still a week and a half left of the month. I can't imagine that happening with my rate of knitting, but who knows. I'm filling any extra knitting time with the hourglass throw because it's time for that thing to be done. It's kind of poetic that it's called the hourglass throw and it's time to be done. Anyway, so there is that. Okay, now let's get to the last part of this, and that is books 2018. So I have very similar goals to what I had this year that I then bombed miserably. I'm setting my goal at 36 books this year. I'm not going to set any goals for Pubden 2018 or diverse reads or anything like that. 36 books this year. I came up with that as follows. Oh wait, no, 38. 38 books this year. So my brother, hi Matt if you're watching, he is becoming a reader. And I mean, like, he has had the same Harry Potter experience as I did. We were both heavily influenced by my Aunt Colleen, who is a voracious reader. But his reading has been sporadic and not as consistent as mine has over the years. Until recently, he's really started reading, and he's reading things that I want to read. And so I thought that it would be kind of cool for my brother and I to do, here we are stepping up our sibling game. I thought that it would be cool if he and I did a read along. And so I think that what we're going to do is alternating each month. He's going to pick a book, and then I'll pick a book, and then he'll pick a book, and then I'll pick a book. And we'll read it, and then we'll try to get together over coffee and talk about it and whatnot. He prefers literary fiction. I think that one of his favorite books is The Goldfinch, which is a huge work of literary fiction. I read a lot of YA fantasy, so it's basically smut sometimes. Not hating on YA fantasy by any means, but literary fiction and YA fantasy are just very different genres. And so I think it would be good for us both to sort of dip our toes into our respective genres of choice. So that's 12 books, one per month. In January, we are reading The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey. I do not have my copy yet. I better get that, because if we're going to get together to discuss, I better get reading. Now, the other 26. I've been back and forth on this. Am I going to do the Pop Sugar Challenge? Am I going to do the Around the Year in 52 Books like Ann P. has done? Am I going to just read whatever I want, or things off my shelves, or series that I've wanted to finish for years? Insert X, whatever. So the other day, I sat down and I looked at the prompt for Pop Sugar, and I don't care for that list at all. So I was like, you know what? That's a sign. I'll take that out. Then I looked at my books, at what I have on my shelves that I haven't read, and they're everywhere around me. There's even some right behind my head. I have lots of books on my shelf, but usually when I'm faced with a big decision like that, I don't do so well. I end up just not, I just end up not. So that's not going to work. Oh my gosh, I forgot about those stacks. I have roughly 60 books on the floor over here. This is madness. I got a lot of books. So I needed something more focused than picking whatever I felt like reading. As far as series goes, there are several series that I started reading back in 2012, 2013, when my blog was at its height. My book blog was at its height. There's a bunch of series that I've started that I never finished or never caught up on. But again, I was faced with this level of indecision. Okay, do I only read books of series that I have started? Do I read them straight through? So for instance, the Throne of Glass series is up to 6 books, I think, currently. I've read one of them. Sorry, Ashley. So, like, so do I read all 5 of the ones so that I can catch up? But there's still more to come in that series, so we're not done yet. I wasn't quite sure how to fit that in. And then I was looking at the prompts for the Around the Year in 52 books. And this is hosted on Goodreads, and I will link it below. And I love the prompts for this. They're fab. They they just appeal to me. They match with what I feel like reading. Some of them push me out of my comfort box, which is good. It's good for me to leave my box every now and again. But still probably find things on my shelves. So read the books that I've got to match these prompts. There's 52 because it's supposed to be 1 book a week. Now you don't have to read them in order, and you don't have to strictly read, okay, week 1 you have to read this book, and if you don't finish it in time, well, sorry, you don't get that point. It's not like that. It's just that it's just to guide your direction in reading and to accomplish these tasks. There's no way that I'm going to read 52 books next year. There's no way. It is not possible. It is not going to happen. I am not that delusional. I read 17 this year, and that's if I finish the one that I've been reading since April. So making the jump from 17 to 52 plus 12, so 64? Nope. So I'm doing what I did this year. And if you guys will remember, at the beginning of this year, I was doing the Pop Sugar Challenge, and I had my TBR jar. And at the beginning of each month, I pulled 2 little pieces of paper out of my TBR jar and matched books to meet those tasks. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I have 52 little pieces of paper folded up, and so I'm going to pull 2 today so that I can decide what I'm reading in January. And yeah, so this will be kind of fun, just to see what 2 tasks I'm going to be reading from. I ended up having to double fold them because 52 little pieces of paper are just single folded in here or double folded. They wouldn't shake up. So I'm just going to shake this up real good, and then I'm going to pull 2. Make sure there's only 1. Okay, so let's see what we got. And none of these are 800 pages. Like, they don't all have to be super long books. That's ironic. Short book, less than 300 pages. Now, they called it a short book. They did not put that page denomination there for the task, but that's what I would consider a short book. So I'm going to have to find something on my shelves less than 300 pages to read in January. That's perfect. That works out so well for me because everything else going on in January, I need to simplify as best I can. Okay, and this next one is that's funny. Intimidates or scares you. So a book that is intimidating to me. And you know, the first thing I think of when I think of intimidating, I think of big. So maybe I'll read a short book and a big book. So that is everything. That is all of the planning that I can come up with, which is a lot, lots of planning. So I am going to end it off here. I have plans to be back next week. Until I see you next, I hope that if you celebrate Christmas, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas with friends and family. If you celebrate any of the other holidays, it is the season for it, and so I wish everybody happy holidays. I hope that you enjoy time with friends and family, and I will see you next time. As always, y'all, be kind.